Before we begin, make sure you're somewhere quiet. Turn off the lights. Put on your headphones. Because the stories you're about to hear aren't just scary. These are the kinds of experiences people don't talk about. If you enjoy true horror stories, unsettling encounters, and disturbing events that happen to real people, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, let's begin. The first knock came between thunder. That's the only reason I heard it. If the storm had been any louder, I probably would have ignored it. But there was this brief moment, after the lightning cracked and before the thunder rolled, where everything went silent. And in that thin slice of silence, someone knocked on my front door. 3 slow knocks. Not pounding. Not frantic. Just calm. Measured. I live alone in a rural area about 20 minutes outside town. My nearest neighbor is a retired farmer half a mile down the road. That night, a severe thunderstorm had rolled in fast. The kind where the sky turns green and the wind starts screaming before the rain even hits. By 10:30 p.m., the power was already out. No lights. No TV. No Wi-Fi. Just me, a couple of candles, and the sound of rain slamming against the house like handfuls of gravel. When the knock came, I thought I imagined it. Then lightning flashed again. Thunder cracked overhead. And between the echoes, knock. 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 Same rhythm. Slow. Deliberate. My stomach tightened immediately. No one would be out in that storm. Trees were bending sideways. Debris was flying across the road. Sirens had already gone off earlier, warning people to stay inside. I grabbed my flashlight and walked toward the door. Another flash of lightning illuminated the frosted glass window beside it. And for a split second, I saw a silhouette. Tall. Standing directly on my porch. Too still. The thunder exploded a second later, shaking the house. I froze. The knocking stopped. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, just listening to the rain and wind. Then, quietly, I said, "Hello." No response. Another lightning flash. The porch was empty. I felt stupid. Probably just a branch hitting the door. I turned to walk back to the living room. Knock. 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 This time louder. Right behind me. I spun around so fast I nearly dropped the flashlight. The silhouette was back. Closer to the glass now. I could see the shape of a head. Broad shoulders. And something about the posture was wrong. Its head wasn't level. It was slightly tilted. Like it was studying me. I swallowed hard and stepped closer to the door. Who's there? Nothing. Just rain and distant thunder. I reached for the porch light switch out of instinct. Nothing. Power was still out. Another lightning strike lit up the yard. This time, I saw more. The figure was barefoot. Standing in the pouring rain. Completely still. No jacket. No umbrella. Just standing there. I backed away slowly. Every survival instinct in my body told me not to open that door. Then the knocking changed. Instead of 3 measured knocks, it became scratching. Long. Slow. Dragging sounds across the wood. Like fingernails. My breathing turned shallow. "Go away!" I shouted. The scratching stopped. Then came a new sound. A voice. Low. Almost drowned out by thunder. "Let me in." It didn't sound desperate. It sounded calm. Like it already expected me to. I stepped backward into the hallway. Lightning flashed again. The silhouette was closer to the glass now. Its face nearly pressed against it. And I could see something I hadn't noticed before. It wasn't blinking. The thunder crashed. The house shook. And in that violent roar, I heard something else. Another knock. But not from the front door. From the back of the house. 3 slow knocks. My blood ran cold. I live alone. There shouldn't be anyone in my backyard. I turned slowly toward the hallway that leads to the kitchen. Another lightning strike illuminated the back door window for half a second. There was someone there too. Same height. Same posture. Head tilted. Standing in the storm. I looked back at the front door. Still there. 2 of them. One in front. One in back. Thunder boomed again. And both knocked at the exact same time. 3 slow knocks. Perfectly synchronized. I grabbed my phone. No signal. Storm must have knocked out the tower. The knocking continued. Front and back. Over and over. Then suddenly, it stopped. Completely. Silence except for the storm. I stood frozen for what felt like minutes. Then lightning lit up the living room windows. And I saw more silhouettes. Standing in the yard. 3, 4, 5 shapes scattered across my property. All facing the house. All completely still. Waiting. And then every single one of them raised an arm. And knocked. Not on the house. But on the air. Like they were mimicking the sound. And somehow, I heard it. 3 knocks. Echoing inside the house. From the walls. From the ceiling. From behind me. I dropped to the floor. The knocking began coming from inside the walls. Moving. Circling. Like something was crawling through the structure. Lightning flashed again. And for a split second, I saw a face pressed against my living room window. Not outside. Inside. In the reflection. Standing directly behind me. Head tilted. Smiling. The thunder exploded so loudly it felt like it hit the house. And everything went black. When I came to, it was morning. The storm was gone. Power restored. The house was silent. I ran outside immediately. The yard was soaked, but there were no footprints. No damage to the doors. No scratch marks. Nothing. I almost convinced myself it was stress. Until I checked the security camera footage. The storm had cut most of it out. But between 10:42 and 10:57 p.m., there was video. And on the porch camera, I was standing at the front door. Barefoot. In the rain. Head tilted. Knocking. 3 slow knocks. On my own door. And inside the house. Through the glass. I could see myself staring back. I don't tell this story during storms. In fact, if I even hear distant thunder, I turn off my phone, unplug everything, and sit in silence. Because what happened that night didn't end when the storm passed. It followed me home. And sometimes, when lightning flashes outside my window, I still see that house. And I still see him standing inside it. 3 years ago, I worked for a small insurance inspection company. After severe weather events, we were sent out to document property damage before adjusters made their rounds. That's how I ended up on County Route 19 at 9:40 p.m. during the worst thunderstorm I've ever seen. The storm hadn't been predicted to hit that hard. By the time I was dispatched, the sky was already tearing itself apart. Lightning was striking so frequently it felt like daytime every few seconds. The address I was given was for a rural property. The homeowner had called in, claiming lightning had struck their detached garage and possibly their house. The thing is, when I pulled up, there were no other houses for miles. Just one old, 2-story farmhouse sitting alone in an open field. And no lights on. Rain hammered against my windshield so hard I could barely see. Thunder shook my steering wheel. But in those bright flashes of lightning, I could see the house clearly. It didn't look recently struck. It looked abandoned. Paint peeled from the siding. The porch sagged slightly to one side. Tall weeds had overtaken what might have once been a yard. I checked the address again. It matched. I should have left. But my boss had warned me that storm night reports were urgent. The homeowner had apparently sounded distressed. So I grabbed my rain jacket and flashlight and ran toward the house. The front door was slightly open. Not wide. Just enough that it gently knocked against the frame in the wind. I called out, "Insurance inspection." No response. Another lightning flash illuminated the interior for a split second. There was furniture inside. Old furniture. Covered in dust sheets. Nobody living there would keep their house like that. I stepped in. The air inside was thick. Damp. It smelled like mildew and something faintly metallic. Rainwater had pooled near the doorway. I closed the door behind me to stop it from slamming in the wind. That's when the house went completely dark. My flashlight flickered once before stabilizing. I swept it across the living room. Furniture was arranged normally. Couch, coffee table, bookshelf. But everything was coated in a thick layer of dust. Except for one thing. A single wooden chair positioned directly in the center of the room. No dust on it. As if someone had just been sitting there. Thunder cracked overhead, so loud it rattled the windows. And then I heard it. A soft dragging sound from upstairs. Slow. Deliberate. Like something being pulled across wood. I froze. "Hello?" I called. The dragging stopped. Silence. Then another lightning strike, so bright it lit the entire house for a second. And in that flash, I saw a figure standing at the top of the stairs. Perfectly still. Watching me. When darkness returned, my flashlight beam shot toward the staircase. Nothing there. Empty. I told myself it was just lightning playing tricks on my eyes. I didn't believe it. But I needed something logical to hold on to. The dragging sound started again. This time directly above me. I backed toward the doorway. And that's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There were wet footprints on the floor. Leading from the front door. Into the center of the room. And stopping at that clean wooden chair. But I hadn't walked that way. My footprints were near the wall. These prints were barefoot. And larger than mine. Another thunderclap. The dragging upstairs stopped again. Then came a heavy thud. Like something falling. Followed by slow footsteps descending the stairs. One step. Pause. Another step. Pause. The sound was wrong. It was too heavy. Like each footstep carried more weight than a normal person should. My flashlight trembled in my hand as I aimed it at the staircase. Step. 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 The sound stopped halfway down. I couldn't see anything. But I could feel something there. Watching. Waiting. Then lightning struck again. And in that violent white flash, I saw him. Halfway down the staircase. Head tilted unnaturally to one side. Skin pale, almost grey. Eyes completely black. And his mouth. It was stretched too wide. Smiling. Darkness returned. I couldn't breathe. My flashlight flickered. And the footsteps resumed. Faster now. He was coming down. I bolted for the door. But it wouldn't open. It felt jammed. Or held shut. The footsteps stopped behind me. I could feel him standing inches away. I slowly turned. My flashlight beam illuminated his torso first. He was soaked. Water dripped from his clothes. From his hair. Pooling at his bare feet. But it wasn't rainwater. It was darker, thicker, and it smelled like iron. His head twitched sharply to the other side. And then he spoke. But his mouth didn't move. The voice came from everywhere. He doesn't like when people enter. My throat was dry. Who? I whispered. Lightning flashed again. He was gone. Completely gone. The front door suddenly swung open on its own. I didn't wait. I ran. Rain blinded me as I sprinted back to my car. I didn't look back. Not until I was inside and the doors were locked. And I wish I hadn't. Because standing in the upstairs window was not one figure, but two. The soaked man. And something behind him. Taller. Wider. Its shape barely fitting in the window frame. Lightning struck somewhere very close. The entire field lit up. And for a split second, I saw something impossible. The farmhouse wasn't old and abandoned. It was burned. Blackened wood. Collapsed roof. Charred remains. And no windows. Just a shell. Then darkness returned. And the normal house stood there again. I drove away. I didn't report the inspection. I quit the job 2 days later. Here's the part that makes it worse. A month after that night, I looked up the address. There was no record of a house there. Not in property databases. Not in satellite images. Nothing. But I did find something. A news article from 1987. A lightning strike had caused a house fire on County Route 19. The entire family inside had died. Neighbors reported that the father had been acting strangely in the days before the fire. Some said he believed lightning was chosen punishment. Some said he had been seen standing outside during storms, staring at the sky. The photo attached to the article was grainy. Black and white. But I recognized him immediately. The man on the staircase. Head tilted. Unnatural smile. And standing slightly behind him in the photo was someone taller. Just barely visible. Looking over his shoulder. I moved to a different town after that. But storms still find me. And sometimes, when lightning flashes outside my bedroom window. For just a split second. My room looks burned. Blackened walls. Ash drifting in the air. And I can smell smoke. Last week, during a thunderstorm, I woke up to the sound of dragging. From upstairs. I live in a 1-story apartment. The dragging stopped right above my bed. Then I heard footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Walking across my ceiling. And stopping directly above me. I didn't look up. I didn't move. Because I already knew what I would see if lightning struck. And when it finally did, the flash came from inside my room. Not outside. And in that white burst of light, reflected in my closet mirror, I saw a wet footprint forming on my ceiling. I used to love thunderstorms. The kind that shook the windows. The kind that made the sky flash white like someone was taking pictures of the world from above. The kind that made you feel small. That changed 3 years ago. And the worst part is, I don't think the storm ever ended. It started when I was driving back from a work trip. I'd stayed too late at the office, and by the time I hit the highway, the sky was already turning that ugly greenish-gray color that means something bad is coming. The weather app said a severe thunderstorm warning. I should have waited it out. But I didn't. About 30 minutes into the drive, the rain started. Not normal rain. Sheets of it. So thick I could barely see the taillights of the car in front of me. Then the lightning started. Every few seconds the entire highway would light up bright white, like daytime for a split second, then plunge back into pitch black. That's when I noticed something strange. There were no other cars anymore. I hadn't consciously registered when they disappeared, but suddenly I was alone. No headlights behind me. No taillights ahead. Just me. And the storm. The radio cut to static. I smacked it, thinking it was just interference. The static got louder. Not white noise, more like whispering. It faded just as quickly. I told myself it was stress. Fatigue. Thunder messing with the signal. Then lightning struck somewhere close. So close the thunder cracked at the same time as the flash. My ears rang. And my headlights went out. Pitch black. I slammed the brakes. The car skidded slightly on the wet asphalt before stopping. My heart was pounding so hard it felt painful. I flipped the headlights off and on again. Nothing. The dashboard lights were still on. The engine was running. Just no headlights. I grabbed my phone to use the flashlight. No signal. Battery at 2%. That didn't make sense. I'd had over 60% when I left. The battery dropped to 1% in front of my eyes. Then the phone shut off. Lightning flashed again. And in that split second of white light, I saw something standing in the middle of the road about 20 feet in front of my car. A person. Tall. Thin. Completely still. The light vanished before I could make out details. My heart was racing so violently I thought I might pass out. I hit the horn. No reaction. Another lightning flash. The road was empty. Nothing there. I locked the doors anyway. That's when something hit the roof of my car. Not rain. Not hail. A single, heavy thud. Then another. And another. Like someone walking across the top of my car. I froze. The footsteps moved slowly from the back of the car toward the windshield. Each step dented the metal slightly. I could hear it creaking. They stopped directly above me. I didn't breathe. Water streamed down the windshield, distorting everything. The sky flashed again. And there it was. A face pressed against the outside of my windshield. Upside down. Pale. Too pale. Eyes wide open. Mouth stretched unnaturally wide in what might have been a smile. The lightning cut out. Darkness swallowed everything. I screamed and slammed the gas pedal. The car lurched forward violently. Something slid off the roof with a loud scrape. I didn't stop driving. Headlights still dead, I drove guided only by the occasional lightning flashes. I must have gone 20 miles like that. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the storm stopped. No gradual fade. No lighter rain. Just silence. The road was dry. The sky was clear. Stars. I pulled over, shaking. I got out of the car. No dents on the roof. No scratches. Nothing. My headlights worked perfectly. I told myself it was a hallucination. Stress-induced. Sleep deprivation. That's what I believed. Until the next night. The storm came back. Not outside. Inside my house. At 2:17 a.m., thunder exploded directly above my bedroom. The windows rattled violently. I jumped out of bed. The sky outside was clear. No clouds. But thunder kept booming. Lightning flashed inside my room. White cracks of light streaked across the ceiling like veins. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Walking across my roof. The same sound. My blood went cold. I grabbed a baseball bat from my closet and ran outside into the yard. The night was perfectly still. No wind. No clouds. No storm. But as I stood there, staring up at my roof, water began dripping from the shingles. Not rainwater. Black water. Thick. Slow. Like oil. It dripped onto the grass and soaked into the ground. Then I heard whispering. Behind me. I turned. No one there. But the whispering moved, circling me. Soft. Unintelligible. Then it stopped. And thunder cracked directly over my head again. I don't remember what happened after that. I woke up on my bedroom floor the next morning. Dry. Clear skies. No signs of damage. Except for one thing. Mud footprints. Across my ceiling. Upside down. I moved out a month later. New apartment. Different city. 3rd floor. I thought I'd escaped it. I was wrong. The first storm came 6 months later. Weather forecast didn't mention rain. But at exactly 2:17 a.m. Thunder. Lightning. Inside my room. This time I didn't panic. I just sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the ceiling. Waiting. The footsteps began. Slow. Measured. Directly above me. Then they stopped. Right over my bed. The whispering started again. And I finally understood what it was saying. It wasn't random. It wasn't static. It was repeating something. Still driving. Over and over. Still driving. My stomach dropped. Because I wasn't in my bedroom anymore. I was back in my car. Hands on the steering wheel. Rain pouring down. Headlights dead. The road stretching endlessly ahead of me. And in the rearview mirror, that face. Sitting in the back seat. Smiling. I woke up in a hospital 2 days later. Single car accident. They said I drove off the highway during a storm. But there was no record of any storm that night. No rain. No lightning strikes. Nothing. The officer said skid marks suggested I never hit the brakes. I was just still driving. They found my car wrapped around a tree. And here's the part I've never told anyone. When they showed me photos of the wreck, the roof of my car was caved in. As if something heavy had been standing on it. And on the inside of the windshield, there were handprints. From the outside. Upside down. I don't drive anymore. But the storms still come. Always at 2:17 a.m. Always indoors. And last night, the thunder didn't stay above me. It was under my bed. And something knocked 3 times. From beneath the floor. I think the road isn't finished with me. And I think next time, I won't wake up.